Hello, my name's Liz, and today we're going to have a look at George and the Dragon. Now, that's a very famous story all over the world, and it's told in different ways. The way that we're going to look at the one story is an English version of it. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We're going to do the story later. Before that, I want to look at what a knight is, and I want to look at dragons and just maybe how to go and find a dragon or go on a dragon hunt. Well, I've got with me here today a knight.
Hello, my name is Ricard Sinclair, and I'm a knight, and I'm to tell you all about what it's like to be a knight and all about hunting dragons.
Okay, so I know a bit about knight training, and I thought it would be a bit of fun if we all pretend that we're going to learn to be knights. And you went through all of this training, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yes, many years training to become a knight.
Okay, so when you start off to be a knight, the first thing is you have to be 7 years old. But before that, if you're younger than 7, you can have a practice. Okay? So when you're 7, you learn to be what's called a page. That's the first stage. Now, it might be that your father is a knight or somebody very rich and he can afford to train you as a knight. But it's also possible that your father might ask a friend who's a knight if he can train you. Maybe the knight hasn't got a son. So it's not just that you'd have to be a rich person. Anybody really could be a knight. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how we train that page. And the page, the most important thing for a page is to learn good manners. Your mum and dad tell you about good manners because that really is important. So when the page comes to live in the castle, he has to learn, he has to go and stay with the knight's wife, and she teaches him all about the cooking and serving of the food. And you might think, what's that got to do with a knight? Because I want to do some fighting. But no, it's to do with the manners. You have to learn to do things properly and with respect. You know that word, don't you? Respect. So one of the things we're going to say to the page is, how are you going to eat your food? And he knows that he must not dip his bread into his meal. Don't do that. Bad manners. Okay. What else does a page do? Well, one of the things a page does is he has to learn, as well as manners, good balance. Now, the reason he needs good balance is that when he's grown up and he's become a knight, he's going to be on a horse. And when he's on that horse, there may come times when he's got to ride the horse without holding on to the reins. So he's going to need, right from his early days, good balance. The best way to do that, come on, get up on your feet, because we're going to do this together, okay? I want you to be training to be a knight, up on your feet, and see if you can stand on one leg. Can you do that? Ooh, that's my good leg, I think. I'm all right on that one. Okay. What about the other leg? We can all manage one leg, maybe. This is like my wobbly leg. Hey. So there we go. And you see the knight did that beautifully because he's got good balance.
Easy.
Now, another thing that he's going to do is he's going to start to learn to fight. And he's going to do that with a wooden sword and a wooden shield. So here we've got, he's got a plate and a spoon. That's okay. A wooden sword. Do you think that spoon should be the other way around? That looks more like a sword now, doesn't it? And his shield. And he's learning just like that. We're not going to give a young person who's 7 proper weapons. Our knight has got a proper weapon. We can have a quick look at it, but he's not going to be using it, are you? Not in your training. No,
not
so
in the
there we
studio either.
go. A very nice, proper weapon, but we have to have that put away just for now. So the page has learned manners, he's learned balance, and he's learned a little bit about fighting with a wooden sword and shield. When he gets to about 13 years old, he can go on to the next stage. And the next stage is called a squire. And a squire has to learn about the horse. A knight's horse is called a destrier, and it's a big, heavy horse. So have you got your horse with you, knight? Oh, isn't he sweet? Isn't he lovely? So we've got a really nice horse. Now, what do? You have to learn to look after the horse because the squire is going to travel with the knight and it's his job to take care of the horse. So the squire has to learn, first of all, to brush the horse's mane. So, oh, look at that, we're brushing the horse. Can you do that at home? Can you be brushing the horse's mane? Oh, that's lovely. Okay, and his tail, don't forget the tail, that's got to look nice as well. So we're brushing
Good.
and brushing. Does he look nice? He does. That's lovely. Now there's more to a horse than brushing the mane and tail. We've got to clean up the poo. He's a horse that's in a stable, or he's even a horse that's in the campsite, and we have to have the place nice and clean. So pretend that you've got a spade, stand up again, and let's have you digging and cleaning that stable out so that the horse is nice, smells nice and sweet, and some fresh hay that's gone in. So the horse is looking good. Now the squire can probably have a go on the horse, a little bit of a practice. Just as the page had to learn balance, the squire has to learn to have big, strong muscles at the top. And the way to do that, to have upper body strength, those arms, is that he does a lot of climbing. And the best thing to climb is a tree. So let's have you imagining that you're climbing. Can you be doing that? Reaching up at a tree. Oh, there's a big branch there. Pulling yourself up, and that's really building the muscles. You had to do this, didn't you? And that's why you've got such broad shoulders. Why would you want such strong arms? Well, one of the things you might need to do as a knight, if you attack a castle, see your castle there with the knights on top of it, you might have to climb up to the top of a battlement to attack the castle. So good, strong muscles are important for the squire. Now then, what about the other thing that the knight's going to need? He's going to need some armor, and one of the jobs the squire has is to keep the armor clean. So here we've got some armor, and we've got a cloth. That's not going to get the rust off, though, is it? The way to get the rust off is to get sand. So we have to put the armor into sand, and we have to rub the sand, and that takes all of the rust. Can I see you doing that? Taking all of the rust off the armor and making it really nice and shiny. So that squire, he's sorted the horse out, he's built his muscles up, and he's cleaned the armor. And of course, he still remembers all his manners that he learnt before, and his balance and his sword fighting. But now to become a knight. And one of the things the knight has to do is learn the proper fighting with the sword. So we're going to do this now. Okay, you can just use your finger. And if you're sitting too close to your brother and sister, then move apart a bit. We don't want any real battles going on here.
I get to use
No,
my
you
sword
don't
now.
get to use that one yet. No, no, no. Of course, the squire would have practiced with the metal ones, and the knight would be using that. But just for our training, we're going to use this one here. We've got some foam ones. Okay, so now I need you to stand up. You can stay sitting down if you like, because you're tall and you'll be way off in the studio. So there, it's a big sword. So you need two hands. So you pretend that you're holding a big sword with your two hands. And the first thing we're going to do is pretend we're going to cut into his shoulder, because if his shoulder's gone or his arm, he can't fight me. So I'm going to swing it round at his shoulder. Oh, did you see what he did there? He blocked it. That's called a parry. He parried the blow. Now I'm going to do it from the other side. See if he's as good on this side, eh? Bring that round. Oh, he did. He parried the blow again. So we're learning to swing the sword, but he's also learning the parries. I'm going to have a go at chopping one of his legs off. There's no point going into his side because he's got armor on. So I'm going to chop into one of his legs now and go down there. He's done the same. He's parried again. If I could try the other leg. He might not be so good on the other side, you think? Let's have a go. Oh! Oh no! He's run off, but there's somebody creeping up behind me. I can't get both hands round, can I? So I have to let go with one hand and I have to go around and stop the person who's behind me. Whoa, just like that. He's a coward. He's run off. Now this knight's come back again, and my last important one here is to bring it down on top of his head. Now, he did have a big helmet on before, because take it off, so I can give him a good headache now. If you're doing this at home, it's pointing only, all right? Leave your brother and sister alone. So there. And do you see that position? If I just get him to lower his arm slightly, see that? Sideways across. That is called a St. George parry. It's the very move that St. George used to use to protect himself and maybe to kill dragons if they're up here. Who knows? All right, now the last thing is we did manners before. So when we say manners to a knight, he'll hold his sword so we see he's not attacking us. And then we expect him to turn his sword down. And when he's done all of his training, he would kneel down, and the person who's making him into a knight does this. I'm not cutting his head off. I'm going to one side and I say, arise, spur, Rickard. And then that's made him a knight. And when I've made him a knight, it's called earning your spurs. Now the spurs are metal things that go around the ankle, and we have those to go around the ankle to encourage the horse. They don't stab the horse, but to encourage the horse to move forwards. That's earning your spurs. So now this knight, he's all ready to go and fight, and he's done all his training, but there isn't a war on at all. However, one thing a knight can do, just for a bit of fun, is to go to what's called a tournament. And when he goes to a tournament, you have two knights running at each other with a long lance. And they run past each other. Well, the horses actually run past each other. The knight's on the back of the horse, run past each other, and look, no hands. So I'm steering that horse with my body there and balancing well and trying to knock him off his horse as I go past. And he's trying to knock me off my horse as I go past. And nobody gets knocked off on this. So we go further and we have to turn and try again. Tourner is the French to turn, and that's why it's called a tournament. Right, we're going to show you what they do if they don't have somebody else to fight. For a bit of fun, they're going to use this thing here. Do you want to explain about this?
Well, first of all, while I'm explaining about that, I can give you the spurs, so you can show the spurs which have been won, have been lost, and have been found.
Set that up. So here we have the spurs that go onto the knight. So they go around the back of his heel, and then there's a strap, and it fastens on his leg. So he's just getting the horse to move on. He's not stabbing it, as I said. Just move on, and the horse is going to go on. I'll go a bit faster, and so that is the spurs.
Right, this is your lance, but the lance is too big for this small display, so I'm going to use a wooden spoon instead. And what we do is we charge at a quintain. A quintain is a shield on a pivot with a weight at the other side. And the idea is that you, to practice riding down your opponent, you ride down Quintain, hit the shield hopefully, and then get out of the way quick enough before the heavyweight on the other side whizzes round, hits you on the back and knocks you off the horse. So it's quite a lot of skill. As I say, you'd use a lance, but there's not room to demonstrate that in the studio. So
Do that again.
yeah, charging along and hit the Quintain and pass before the other weight comes round and gets you.
Okay, so I think we've now looked at knights, and I think it's now time to think about dragons. Now, dragons in stories, there's all sorts of dragons. There is a dragon story in the north of England, which is the Lambton Worm. And sometimes dragons in stories are called worms. So the Lambton Worm, very similar story. There are other stories, other parts of the country. But first, let's have a look at dragons and maybe how we would go and find one. What is there about dragons?
Well, are there different types of dragons?
I think, as far as I've understood, there are. There are water dragons, and those water dragons are usually in the Chinese ideas. So when you see the big Chinese dragon going through the street, he's a water dragon. He sometimes lives in water or lakes or other liminal places like that. And he's also thought he might bring rain. So dancing, he's a water dragon. But in the countries near England and in Europe, a dragon is often a fire dragon. And the fire dragons often have wings, but the water dragons don't usually have wings. So dragons can have wings, not wings. They can be different colors. They can be small. They can be big. How would we go and find one? What would we need to take with us if we were going to find a dragon? What do you take with you?
Well, the thing to remember is that some dragons usually live in caves, and it's not advisable to go in a cave after a dragon, because if there's a dragon in there, only one of you will come out and it won't be you. So if you do find a dragon in the cave, you need to get him out of the cave. So first of all, how do we track our dragon? Well, I've drawn a set of tracks here that you might be interested in, and you can see that we have mole tracks, squirrel tracks, hare tracks, and hedgehog tracks. And on the second row we have deer and boar. And notice those two are quite similar. Don't mix those up. Deers have got antlers on their head, and they're usually okay unless you annoy them, in which case they'll charge you and gore you with their antlers. Then there's a boar, which is a wild pig, and that will just gore you anyway, so just best avoid. Wolf, like a dog, okay, but if you come across them, keep some dog treats handy. Then there's a bear, and bear can be quite nasty, but they're usually quite slow, so you can get away from them. And then finally, a dragon.
It looks like a bird, doesn't it?
Well, it kind of looks like a bird print because, of course, dragons are reptiles, and reptiles are very similar ancestry for both lizards and for birds. So it's not surprising that they have similar tracks. So you can track your dragon. It's also useful to have a magnifying glass so that you can get some idea of the detail in the print. And then when you get a bit closer, you can look for other clues. You might find one of these. This is a dragon scale. When you find these around, you know there's a dragon not far away. These are hard and horny. They're hard as iron. And in fact, if you get attacked by a dragon, there's very little that can withstand the dragon's breath and the dragon's claws. So I've put some dragon scales on my shield over there. You can just see the shield there is protected with the scales. So if I'm attacked by dragon fire or dragon claws, I can hold that up and it'll give me a lot of protection. So other things we might find when we're looking for dragons is we might come across a clutch of eggs. I put some eggs here in a basket, and the thing is to think of, are these dragon eggs, do you think?
I would have expected them to be bigger than that.
Well, yes, and also if these were real dragon eggs, they would be a very, very angry bronze dragon just about there now,
Mother.
just about to eat us.
Oh,
So have a sniff. What does it smell like?
not quite nice.
Yeah. Do you want to have a taste of one?
Taste.
Yeah, that's always a good way to check what an egg's made of, what animal it is.
Okay.
What do you think?
They're chocolate eggs.
Oh, that's chocolate then. So no worry, chocolate dragons
Dragons.
are okay because you can just eat them. Right then, what else what we might find? Well, we might find the skull of a dragon that's passed on.
Ooh.
Now this is, what do you think? This is a small dragon or a big dragon?
Quite big, I think.
Well, look at its teeth. This is a skull of a very small dragon.
That's a small.
This is a small dragon. We have here some teeth of a medium dragon.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
It's different, isn't it?
quite a bit bigger than those.
Wow.
And the big dragon teeth are, this is a big red dragon tooth. The best thing to do is just avoid.
Run away.
Okay, this tooth is about twice as big as that skull.
Goodness me.
Okay, now you might also come across some dragon scat. Now you might know scat as poo.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now of course it's a good idea not to touch any poo if you're out and
No,
about.
it's smelly.
It's very smelly and it is a bit
Sticky
poisonous.
stuff.
So if you
Yeah.
get it on your hands, get it washed off. So I've got my man, my squire, to bring me some dragon poo in this bucket. What do you think? Do you think that's dragon poo?
I don't know.
Don't know. Well, there's
I thought it was smelly.
a couple of ways you can tell it's dragon's poo. Oh. Right then, there it is. Now, the simplest way to tell if it's dragon's poo is to have a smell. Same as before. Have a sniff. Does it smell?
It smells like chocolate as well.
Well, the first thing is, yes, it doesn't smell really, really, really horrible.
No.
So that proves it isn't dragon poo, because if it was dragon poo, there'd be nobody left in the studio, in the house, and most of the people in the street would have left.
Ugh.
Secondly, it smells like chocolate, so it probably is chocolate that looks like poo. So that's another thing to take with you when you're looking for your dragon, is always have with you a peg so that you can put it on your nose, because when you get near to the dragon den, you cannot stand the smell. It's so awful.
And does its breath smell as well?
Oh yes, and if its breath ignites, it turns into fire.
What does ignites mean?
Ignite, sets on fire.
Oh, right. Right.
Okay, so presuming now you've tracked your dragon down to a cave and you want to know if there's a dragon in there. Now, there's a couple of ways you can get the dragon out. One way is to get a little bag of money, like this.
Oh, yeah, they like treasure, don't
They like treasure. Just
Yeah.
check this around in front of the cave. If there's a dragon in there, it'll come out. Dragons like to add to their treasure pile, and they know exactly how much treasure is there to the smallest penny, but they never use any of it.
Oh.
They just collect it. Another way you can chance a dragon is by the dragon whistle. I've got one here. I'm not very good at using this one, actually. If you get it wrong, it'll enrage the dragon. If you get it right, it'll become quite meek, and you can hopefully get a rope round its neck and then lead it away or put it into a cage. I've got a cage here for a very small dragon, just to give you some idea of what sort of cages we can put our dragons into.
That would be a small one.
It would be. Another good way to tell if there's a dragon around is with the dragon detector. Now, this just looks like a normal stick, but it's a special stick because you notice nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You hold it out, okay, and then you check the end, and if the end is all burnt like this, okay, it means there's a dragon out there. So if you go dragon hunting, never forget your dragon stick. One day it could save your life.
Wow.
Okay, so we've tracked our dragon down. caught it with a rope, or we could catch it in a net, of course, is another way to catch a dragon. And then once in our cage and safely away, we can go take it to the local town and collect our reward.
Wow.
So was this dragon in your story, was it a catchable dragon? Was it a friendly dragon?
No,
No?
no, no, no,
No?
no. Not all dragons are nice and friendly. Some dragons are really nasty things.
Oh dear.
Not only do they smell, but some dragons eat people.
Oh
So
dear.
we have to get rid of those, don't we?
Right then.
All right, so the story, the English story of George and the Dragon, start in another country, a country a long way away. There was a king called Guy, and he lived in his castle in a town in a country a long way away. And one day, an enemy came and surrounded the castle, and Guy had to give up, and he came out, and the enemy took Guy as a prisoner and sent Guy's army away. So he had the prisoner, but Guy had a wife, and the wife wrote a letter, very nice letter, saying, please, can I have my husband back, please? And his enemy said, well, all right then, but you're going to have to go and live with your cousin Conrad. Okay, not too keen on Conrad, but yeah, if I can come out and I can be back with my wife. And so the wife and Guy went to Conrad's town. And Conrad said, you're not coming in here. I don't like you, Guy. You're not coming in. Oh, please, please. I've been told I can be free if I can come and live with you. No, sorry. No, you're not coming here. Go find your own town. Okay, thought Guy. Well, I've been a king in one town. So he called what was left of his army around him, and he found another town. This town was called Acre. And he went to Acre and he said, I want to be your king. And they said, go away, you rubbish. Come on, I want to be your king. I've already been a king, but my palace was taken away. My castle was taken away. No, you rubbish, go away. Guy was annoyed because there weren't any other towns around that he could have. So he decided to camp out around the town, and eventually the people inside would give up and come out, only they didn't. And as he was there, his old enemy started creeping up towards him and was going to send him off again because he hadn't gone to live with Conrad. Well, Guy happened to be friends with Richard I, King Richard of England, sometimes known as Lionheart, so he was very brave. And so Guy asked Richard if he'd come and help him. And Richard wasn't actually very far away, so he did. He came to help him. And eventually, it was a long siege, a long attack on this town. Eventually, even Conrad decided to come and join in, and he brought with him his cousin Leopold from Austria. And so they were all around, and the enemy who was coming and attacking thought there's too many people there. And eventually, inside of the town of Acre, the people gave up. And that would have been fine, but then some of the people started falling out with each other. Richard fell out with cousin Leopold, and cousin Leopold said, I'm off, I'm going back home to Austria and don't think you're ever going to come and see me again because I don't like you anymore. So he went off. What a shame. And then Richard heard that his brother John, who he'd left behind in England to look after the place, had taken over. He wanted to be king. Oh, said Richard, I'm going to have to go. Sorry, Guy, I'm going to have to go home. My brother's being silly. So he set off to go home. But just before he left, Guy said, hang on, oh, just a minute. I've got a gift for you. An absolute stunning gift. You've never seen anything like this before. And he gave him an egg. I think it was bigger than that one. He gave him an egg and he said, this is a wonderful egg because inside of it is an animal. It's partly a bird. Remember that bird's footprint that the dragon looked like? And sometimes some of them have wings. This one here, yeah. But it's also a bit like a lizard. So sometimes they don't have wings and sometimes they do, but they have 4 legs. Very strange thing. You won't have ever seen one in England. So take it with you. And Richard, that's great. What's it called? The guy said, oh, they keep changing your name. Sometimes it's called an insect because insects lay eggs. Sometimes it's called a dragoon. Sometimes it's called a Zalawi. We've no idea. Call it what you like, but take it. It's yours. So Richard went off with his egg and he sailed across the Adriatic Sea and he came to France. And the best way to get to England then was to go straight through France up to England. However, Baddie King John knew that Richard was on his way home. He'd heard by then, and he said to Philip, who was the French king, don't let him come through France. No, keep him there. Stop him from coming in. And so all the ports were closed and Richard couldn't get his ship into France at all. So where's he going to go? Well, it's nearly Christmas. It's getting pretty cold. And the only other place was across the Alps, which are massive cold mountains. So he went up between France and the mountains. He went through a place called Austria. Uh-oh, where have we heard that name before? Austria. Isn't that where? Yes, that's where Leopold lives, Duke Leopold. Oh, well, I've been told not to go there. I know, thought Richard. I'll pretend I'm a poor pilgrim. A pilgrim is someone who might not have much money and he's just wandering around trying to find somewhere special to go. So he dressed as a poor pilgrim. And he got as far as Vienna, but because it was Christmas, he decided to have a party. Silly move. Decided to have a party, got lots of food and lots of things going on, and that drew the attention of Leopold, who said, what's going on over there then? I recognise him, that's Richard. He's worth a penny or two if I can capture him. And so he captured Richard. And of course, he captured the little dragoon, the little insect, which had come from the egg. And they were taken off to a castle, big, strong castle in Germany, actually, is where they were taken to. And Richard was there in prison for quite a long time, couldn't get out of the castle. But whilst he was there, his only companion, the insect, the dragoon, the Zalawi started to grow. Oh, look, it's changed colour. They do that. It's gone red now. It's got bigger. And look, it's got little baby wings. Oh, good company for Richard. And so Richard was really, really happy with it. And it loved Richard. But Richard's mother wanted Richard back. Where is Richard? Where is Richard? John says, I don't know. And Leopold was not going to say anything. And the people in Germany were going, well, he's worth a bit of money. So eventually his mother, Richard's mother, decided to get a lot of money together for who could find Richard. There would be a big reward. Now, another person Richard had met whilst he was at Acre was a minstrel. That's a person who sings and makes up songs. And his name, well, everybody called him Blondel. That wasn't his proper name, but they called him Blondel because he had blonde hair. And he used to be very good at singing and making up songs. And Richard had learnt some of the songs from Blondel. And so he used to sing them to his dragon. And Blondel said, well, I'll go and have a look. A lot of people had a look. One day Blondel was walking along a road and he heard Richard singing Blondel's own song. Well, there was only one person that could have known that. And he got really up close to the battlements of the castle and that's Richard's voice. I know it is. So he went and he got some help and they rescued Richard. And the dragoon, the insect, the Zalawi, whatever, the cockadrill, the French had called it. It's a cockadrill. It's half a cockerel and something else. So it's I don't know what it's called, but it's one of those things anyway. And he's got it with him. So he started to take it back to England. But on the way, to be honest, the Emperor of Germany was glad it went because it started eating so much. On the way, it was getting huge, much bigger than it was before. So now it's got a great big mouth with teeth. Its wings have gone. Well, magic, isn't it? It's got little fat, stubby legs here and a great big tail and spines all down its back. It's very fond of Richard and Blondel, because they sing to it, and Richard takes it home. But when he got back to England, he had to sort out his brother who'd run off. So he put the insect, cockadrill, into the Tower of London. And they had a nice cage made for it. And that was the beginning of a zoo that was there for over 500 years. That zoo stayed there. And the cockadrill was there. Now, the zookeepers were a bit scared of it. It's got big teeth. And it was eating and eating and eating and getting bigger. And so they kept feeding it, but it was waiting for Richard. Oh, it was sad. Richard hadn't come back. Where's Richard? And it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And then one day it grew this big. Oh, there's its face. Oh, look, it's making noises as well. I don't know if I'm going to get it all on the screen. Look at the size of that thing. And it's annoyed because Richard hasn't come back. And it swung its big tail around its cage and it smashed the cage and it slipped into the River Thames. And there, for a while, it's gone, disappeared. Nobody knew where it was. Nobody had heard from it. It was gone. Until about a month later, crawling, swimming, finding its way, it came to the River Stour. And there he found lots of things to eat. And he decided to stay in a village called Withermanford. There he could eat sheep. And he could eat cows. And if it got the chance, it might even eat people. And the villagers, they kept giving it sheep, hoping it would go away. But oh no, it liked those sheep. Maybe eat more than one a night. Oh, and it would eat the cows. And I thought it might even eat the horses as well. And so the villagers decided that they were going to have to try and kill it before it started eating people. So they got their best and bravest archers. And they got those archers and they asked them to shoot the cockadrill. And the cockadrill was shot by the arrows. But remember, solid scales, the arrows weren't doing anything. And the villagers got really scared. So they sent for the local knight. And he was called Sir George of Layer de Hay. And they said, Sir George, please come through the dark forest. Please come and rescue us from the cockadrill. And George came on his big destrier horse. And George came with his big lance. And George attacked the cockadrill. And what do we think happened? Oh, he killed it. Oh, there's the bad cockadrill. And everybody's safe now. And everybody rejoiced. And after that, the town of Withermunford became known as the town where George killed the dragon. And that's the end of my story of George and the Dragon. So you've learned all about knights, you've learned all about dragons and how to catch them, but be careful. And that's goodbye from me, Liz, and
goodbye from Ricardo Sinclair, your friendly knight.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.